Hey warriors, today marks a moment of liberation. A moment where you confront a shadow that has silently guided your choices, a shadow you may not even realize exists. This is the part of you that has craved approval your entire life, the suffocating, relentless need to be liked. The reflex that forces a smile when your soul wants to scream. The urge to justify, to explain, to make yourself palatable to those who never deserved the fullness of your being. That is the chain you are about to break. And once you do, you will enter a territory few dare to explore, untouchable, autonomous, free. For most of your life, you have been taught that goodness, agreeableness, and a desire to be liked are virtues to cultivate. Society praises the one who accommodates, who smiles through insult, who bends so that others might feel comfortable. But in the hidden recesses of your psyche, this has been eroding your power. Every suppressed word, every smothered emotion, every effort to please has been a leak in the vessel of your being. And you have felt it, the subtle emptiness, the quiet rage, the tension between who you are and who you must pretend to be. Imagine this. How many times have you swallowed your thoughts to avoid confrontation? How often have you laughed when your heart was screaming in protest? How often have you over-explained to someone already convinced of their judgment? Each time you handed away a piece of your psychic sovereignty, you placed your essence into the hands of the unworthy. And the irony is exquisite. The world respects not the endlessly pleasing, but those who refuse to be predictable. Those whose presence carries weight because it cannot be fully deciphered. Today, I invite you to embark on a journey into the architecture of your inner power. A journey that will reveal 8 principles, not as moral directives, but as deep psychological strategies for navigating life with intentionality and self-possession. These are not soft lessons for the agreeable soul. They are profound insights into human nature, drawn from the wellspring of consciousness itself. They are designed to make you unreadable, resilient, magnetic. To make you a presence that others feel viscerally without fully comprehending. You will learn the terrifying elegance of silence. How withholding a word can fracture assumptions and create a space of power. You will understand the art of delay, how time can become your ally, how strategic absence can awaken desire and fear simultaneously. You will see how concealing your pain, your vulnerabilities, can render you impervious. You will explore how warmth, when given sparingly, enhances your value. Mystery will reveal itself as your most potent instrument. The subtle language of presence and absence will become a tool to shape reality. Less will become infinitely more, and the unknowable self will be your fortress. By the end of this journey, your perception will shift. Interactions that once left you drained will now be arenas where you move with quiet authority. You will notice the subtle currents in human behavior, and your responses will no longer be reflexive but deliberate. Others will sense this transformation. They will not understand its origin, but they will feel its force. Let us begin with the first lesson. Kill your reflex to explain. Since childhood, you have been taught to justify yourself, to clarify, to protect your image through words. Someone questions you, and the first impulse is to defend, to reason, to illuminate the shadow they see in you. What you have been told is diplomacy, civility, even intelligence. What it truly is a surrender of your power. Every explanation is a fissure in your armor. It signals vulnerability, broadcasts your affective state, and hands control to those who observe you. Once others know that you can be swayed by their judgments, they hold a silent dominion over you. Consider those you truly admire in life. Do they constantly explain themselves? Rarely. They decide, they act, and they move forward. Their energy is not dispersed in appeasement. In contrast, those who over-explain, who endlessly justify, are perpetually entangled in the opinions of others. Their desperation is palpable, and those who encounter them instinctively sense it. Now, observe the psychological mechanisms at play. When someone questions you, your instinctual response is to provide clarity. Why? Because you are tethered to an internalized expectation. The world must understand, must accept, must validate. Yet every word you offer feeds the narrative of predictability. Predictability is the antithesis of power. It is the psychological equivalent of laying your soul bare, of offering a map of your mind for others to traverse. By withholding explanation, by cultivating an aura of inscrutability, you force others into uncertainty. Uncertainty is discomfort. Discomfort triggers the subconscious, revealing intentions and desires that might otherwise remain hidden. This is where silence becomes revolutionary. Not passive silence, but strategic silence, a conscious withholding of the self. When accused, do not react. When questioned, do not justify. Let the air itself carry your response. Let the look in your eyes, the posture of your body, the subtle rhythm of your breathing communicate what words cannot. You do not owe anyone comprehension. You exist independently of their perception. And your power lies in that unassailable truth. Consider the symbolism here. In Jungian terms, the compulsion to explain is an archetypal shadow, a part of the psyche that has been conditioned by the collective expectation of approval. By confronting it, by consciously choosing silence over explanation, you are reclaiming the individuated self. You are stepping into the realm of autonomous being, no longer defined by external narratives but by the internal compass of authenticity. The transformation is not instantaneous. It is iterative. Each interaction where you resist the reflex to justify strengthens the neural pathways of sovereignty. Each act of withheld explanation is a microcosm of mastery over your inner world. And as you practice, the world begins to respond differently. The desperate need for approval that once dictated your choices loses its grip. Others, in their confusion, will reveal their own shadows. Their need to dissect and analyze your motives becomes a tool for your observation, and you will see with clinical clarity the ways in which human behavior is motivated by fear, desire, and projection. The subtle power of this principle cannot be overstated. Silence, judiciously employed, becomes a mirror to the world. It exposes the incongruities of others while preserving the sanctity of your own being. It transforms interactions from transactional exchanges into fields of perception where you are both observer and sovereign participant. As you move forward, integrate this truth into the fabric of your consciousness. Your words are precious. Each one should carry intention, weight, and purpose. The habit of over-explaining dilutes their potency. To speak without over-explanation is to speak from a place of authority, of self-possession, of inner clarity. Those who cannot fathom you will respect you, not because you seek their approval, but because your existence asserts an intrinsic value that cannot be bargained or diminished. From this moment onward, begin the practice. Observe every instance where your instinct is to clarify. Pause. Feel the tension, the urge to fill the void with words. Then release it. Allow silence to communicate. Let ambiguity protect your essence. Watch the reactions of others. Notice the subtle shifts in their demeanor. And in these observations, find the reflection of your own power, the power that has always existed. Waiting for recognition, waiting for choice, waiting for deliberate action. Your silence is more than the absence of words. It is a declaration of sovereignty. In a world addicted to reaction, to immediate feedback, to constant validation, silence is a subtle rebellion. When you refuse to give others the reaction they crave, when you deny them the explanation they demand, you unsettle the very structure of expectation. People rely on predictability to maintain their sense of control. Deprive them of it, and you create a new field of power, one where you are the invisible architect, orchestrating without effort, guiding without interference. Imagine this: someone throws shade, a verbal dart aimed to pierce, to provoke. The weak mind responds immediately, unleashing a torrent of words, paragraphs, defenses, justifications. The strong, the conscious self, does nothing, not out of indifference, but from awareness. They recognize that energy expended in reaction is energy surrendered. They understand that every word given to appease or defend is a fragment of the self dispersed and diminished. Here lies the first principle of mastering your psychic domain. Pause, observe, and let silence speak. Silence stretches space. Space stretches perception, and perception is power. When you allow silence to linger until it becomes awkward, you are not being rude, you are communicating something far more profound, that your sense of self is not contingent on the approval of others. You are grounded in your own authority. You are teaching the subtle lesson that your choices are not negotiable, that your inner compass does not bend under external pressure. Those who matter, those attuned to the deeper resonance of human character, will understand. Those who do not were never aligned with your path anyway. Begin modestly. The next time someone questions your motives, the reflex to explain will arise like a familiar shadow. Halt. Catch yourself. Do not offer rationalizations or defenses. Instead, utter this simple phrase: I had my reasons. Let it rest there, unembellished, unyielding. Observe the subtle shifts in the observer, the discomfort, the curiosity, the silent recalibration. Notice how they squirm in the absence of control. The expected acquiescence, clarity, and here is none. In that small act, you reclaim autonomy, a fragment of psychic territory long ceded. This principle, killing the reflex to explain, is not merely a tactical maneuver. It is foundational. Without it, all subsequent strategies falter. Your words, when reflexive, betray you. They reveal your fears, your desires, your attachments. They become instruments through which others manipulate your inner landscape. By mastering this single practice, you lay the groundwork for the cultivation of true independence of thought and emotional sovereignty. And now, we move to the second lesson: respond slower than they expect. In the dance of human interaction, speed is often mistaken for efficiency, immediacy for attentiveness. Yet, in the subtle psychology of influence, rapid responses signal attachment, urgency, and preoccupation. They cede the tempo to another, allowing them to orchestrate the rhythm of exchange. When you respond slowly, deliberately, with measured restraint, you reclaim the cadence of engagement. You dictate the tempo. You assert, without words, that your time, your attention, and your energy are your own. Impatience is a universal human tendency. From childhood, we have been conditioned to act quickly, to react, to satisfy immediate expectations. Yet the psyche is not a linear instrument. It is a web of projections, fears, and unconscious drives. By slowing your response, you activate an introspective process in the other party. They begin to question: did they see my message? Are they ignoring me? Do they care? Each unanswered moment compels them to confront uncertainty, and uncertainty, in turn, is the crucible in which power is forged. Consider your digital interactions. A text demanding an immediate reply is not merely a message. It is an assertion of influence, a probe into your attentional space. Let it sit, not indefinitely, but long enough for its absence to create reflection, anticipation, even subtle anxiety. The mind, deprived of immediate feedback, begins to construct narratives, often revealing desires, insecurities, and true intentions. You observe, you measure, you remain unmoved. In this stillness, you are both observer and authority. The principle applies universally. In meetings, do not rush to be heard. Let the space fill with the nervous chatter of others, their attempts to assert presence and claim attention. When you finally speak, your words carry disproportionate weight precisely because they were not immediately offered, they were earned in silence. In arguments, the effect is equally potent. Do not mirror the frantic energy of another. Slow your cadence, lower your tone, create pauses that punctuate their agitation with your calm. They seek immediacy, you offer contemplation. They demand reaction. You grant reflection. Speed robs you of perspective. How many times have you spoken in haste, regretted the words, wished for a retreat that is impossible once uttered? Quick responses betray unpreparedness, vulnerability, and attachment. Slow responses, on the other hand, cultivate mystery. They allow you to perceive hidden motives, recognize subtle manipulations, and respond not reflexively but strategically. They transform the relational landscape into a theater where your movements are intentional and unseen currents bow to your awareness. There's a profound psychological insight here. The mind that controls time controls perception. When others expect immediacy, but you provide measured deliberation, you recalibrate the power dynamic. You shift from reactive to directive, from follower to silent leader. They begin to wonder about your thoughts, your plans, your unshakable composure in the face of their agitation. Mystery, in this sense, is not deception, it is the cultivation of presence that cannot be reduced to predictability. Practice this deliberately. The next time a message arrives that would normally prompt an instant response, pause. Even 30 minutes is enough to reveal the subtle shift in dynamics. Notice the sensation of owning your own temporal space, the liberation of refusing to be at the beck and call of external pressures. Observe the psychological ripple that occurs when your pace asserts its independence from the expectations of others. Of course, this principle is nuanced. It does not apply to those who deserve your immediate attention, your true friends, your family, those who have earned your trust. For them, responsiveness remains a sign of respect and care. For all others, the ones probing, testing, and manipulating, controlled delay is an instrument of power. Time becomes territory. Its regulation determines the course of interaction and, ultimately, outcome. Begin today. Choose one interaction to delay, one instance to step outside the tyranny of immediate expectation. Feel the discomfort of withholding, the subtle surge of autonomy. Recognize that every measured pause is a lesson in sovereignty. Your energy, your attention, your presence, they are no longer negotiable. They are yours, and their allocation is guided not by the whims of others, but by the deliberate consciousness of your inner authority. Now, affirm it. Write this declaration in the comments: my time, my pace. Let it anchor your commitment to this principle, the foundation upon which all further mastery will be built. Lesson 3. Never show what hurts you. Pain is the silent language of the psyche. It is information, a signal of where your boundaries lie, where your sensitivity lives, where your inner world is tender. But in the visible world, this same pain becomes a weapon for others if revealed too freely. Every flicker of hurt, every crease of discomfort on your face, every tremor in your voice broadcasts to the world a map of vulnerability. The moment you allow others to see what wounds you, you relinquish a kind of power that is fundamental to the architecture of self-possession. Most people will not respond to your pain with empathy. They will respond with calculation. They will notice, they will remember, and they will, whether consciously or unconsciously, exploit it. This is not cruelty. It is the fundamental reality of human interaction. Human beings are driven by projection and self-interest. If someone can manipulate your emotion, They feel a surge of control, a fleeting sense of mastery over the unpredictable complexity of another soul. You are not being asked to repress, deny, or ignore your pain. That would be destructive, a repression that eventually erupts into uncontrolled chaos. No, you are being asked to master the timing and visibility of your vulnerability. Experience it fully in your private inner world, in reflection, in meditation, in solitude. Rage, disappointment, heartbreak, feel it, acknowledge it, let it ripple through your psyche. But when it comes to the external world, you construct a protective barrier, a mask not of falseness but of strategic presence. A barrier that communicates, I am not easily understood and my inner realm is mine alone. Think of it in terms of archetypes. Your pain is part of your shadow, the aspects of yourself society and circumstance have conditioned you to hide. By concealing your hurt, you are reclaiming your shadow in conscious, deliberate ways. You are no longer at the mercy of the gaze, the judgment, or the manipulations of others. You are aligning your inner and outer worlds with intntionality. Why not observe the weak responses of others? When provoked, they flinch, they cry, they lash out, they over-explain. They leave themselves exposed and the world takes note. Every emotional reaction becomes a button for others to press, a predictable response that can be leveraged, manipulated, or weaponized. By contrast, the person who masters their emotional presentation absorbs every hit silently. Someone insults them publicly, they smile. Someone betrays them, they nod, unconcerned. Someone attempts to humiliate, they laugh softly, as though observing a minor curiosity rather than a threat. Internally, they are vigilant. Every interaction, every insult, every jab becomes data. They record who is aligned, who is hostile, who is probing for weaknesses. But externally, nothing shows. The paradox of strength lies in this invisible work. The strong person feels deeply, yet communicates nothing to exploiters. Pain is private property, sacred and inviolable unless someone has proven their respect and trustworthiness. Consider the analogy of a master poker player. In the game, the best players never allow their faces to betray the hand they hold. The slightest twitch, a half smile, a furrowed brow, these are signals others will use against you. Life mirrors this perfectly. Your emotional reactions are your cards. Reveal them too early and you become predictable, manipulable. Guard them. Protect them. Use them as leverage in understanding the hidden dynamics of those around you. Real-world consequences are everywhere. A boss who perceives your sensitivity may weaponize it for control. A friend aware of your insecurities may exploit them for manipulation. A partner observing jealousy or emotional volatility may use it to assert dominance. By mastering the visibility of your pain, you become untouchable not because you do not feel, but because others cannot discern what truly affects you. Here is your practical application when confronted with something that pierces your emotional armor. Your face remains neutral, your voice steady, and your body language relaxed. In private, process it fully, allow the emotional wave to move through you, but in the moment of interaction, you are impervious. This creates a psychological void in which others cannot operate. Their attempts to provoke, to manipulate, to control meet a blank wall. They are left unsettled, uncertain, and subtly afraid. This is not cruelty, it is conscious self-mastery, the cultivation of an untouchable presence. Lesson 4. Withhold warmth when tested. Warmth is one of the most potent currencies in human interaction. It signals openness, trust, and vulnerability. Yet, like any currency, if distributed indiscriminately, it loses value. Every human being is tested by others, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously. The weak respond with unearned warmth. They smile when disrespected. They placate when boundaries are crossed. They accommodate when exploited. This is not kindness. It is strategic surrender disguised as civility, and it is immediately sensed by others. In the theater of social exchange, warmth is a tool. A deliberate smile, a measured touch, a soft tone, these convey approachability, safety, and engagement. But they also communicate that you can be influenced, that access to your energy is unguarded. When someone crosses a line, tests a boundary, or attempts manipulation, withholding warmth becomes a corrective instrument. You do not react with anger or aggression. You do not attempt to punish. You simply withdraw the positive emotional signals that the transgressor assumed were freely available. Ice replaces warmth. Silence replaces friendly chatter. Calm replaces chaos. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. It is the assertion that your kindness is conditional, that your energy is not a limitless resource to be exploited at whim. Those who learn to navigate human interaction without understanding this principle will constantly find themselves drained, manipulated, and overlooked. The world of human dynamics is a subtle balance of giving and withholding. Warmth, when sparingly distributed, gains immense psychological potency. It communicates without words, respect me, or you forfeit this access. Observe this principle in daily life. People who persist in treating you poorly, who test limits, who push boundaries, do not allow them to benefit from your default kindness. Let the withdrawal of warmth be immediate, subtle, and unmistakable. Your presence remains calm, composed, yet unmistakably firm. The sudden absence of expected warmth creates a psychological recalibration in others. They are compelled to recognize that you are not a predictable source of comfort, that your approval, your goodwill, your engagement are privileges to be earned. This is the paradox of social mastery. Kindness is powerful only when it is conditional and deliberate. Indiscriminate generosity signals weakness. Strategic generosity signals authority. The strong understand this principle intuitively. They allocate warmth not according to external expectation, but according to inner judgment. They conserve their energy, their attention, their presence for those who align with their values and reciprocate in kind. In this way, warmth becomes a measured, conscious instrument, one that conveys respect, reinforces boundaries, and maintains the equilibrium of power in social interaction. Lesson 5. Control your warmth. Guard your energy. Human relationships are a dance of energy, subtle, unspoken, and deeply revealing. Every interaction, every smile, every gesture communicates more than words ever could. When someone takes you for granted, disrespects you, or tests your boundaries, the instinct is often to maintain the facade of warmth, to smooth the interaction, to keep things comfortable. But that instinct is the path of surrender. It sacrifices your sovereignty for the illusion of harmony. Mastery begins with strategic alignment of energy. When someone demonstrates who they truly are, their disregard, their disrespect, their self-interest, your energy should mirror the reality of that encounter. If they treat you as optional, respond with detachment. If they cross a boundary, respond with measured coldness. This is not cruelty or pettiness. It is conscious self-preservation. Your warmth, your openness, is a gift, a privilege to be earned, not a default state granted indiscriminately. Consider the subtle transformation that occurs when you adopt this principle. People begin to measure their words and actions around you. They learn quickly that you do not tolerate disrespect for the sake of comfort. Your presence is no longer a space to exploit. The ones who care, who are aligned with your values, will adjust. They will apologize, recalibrate, and approach with sincerity. The ones who do not, those who seek to manipulate, take advantage, or simply fail to respect your energy, will fade away. Their disappearance is not loss. It is liberation. You reclaim space for those who deserve it. Observe the people you respect most. Their warmth is carefully calibrated. They are generous and open with those who earn their trust and respect, but cold and unyielding toward those who have not. This is not accidental. It is intentional, a conscious design of their social and emotional presence. Warmth is courtesy, a resource with value, not an automatic entitlement. To act otherwise is to devalue yourself, to surrender influence, and to invite exploitation. Start today. The next person who tests your boundaries, resist the reflex to smile, to laugh it off, or to maintain the default warmth. Pull back. Let the withdrawal of warmth communicate the gravity of the interaction. Observe the shift in dynamics. People will notice. They will adjust or they will leave. This is the essence of energy mastery, clarity, firmness, and self-protection through calibrated presence. Lesson 6. Guard your mystery like a sacred territory in a world addicted to oversharing. Mystery is power. Most people spill their thoughts, plans, and emotions freely as if their inner world were public property. Then they wonder why they are underestimated, why their presence lacks weight, why others do not take them seriously. Oversharing dissolves intrigue. It breeds predictability, ordinariness, and disposability. Mystery, in contrast, commands attention. It conveys depth, authority, and value. Psychologically, humans are drawn to the unknown. The mind seeks patterns, craves understanding, and strives to reduce uncertainty. When you reveal everything about yourself, you remove the unknown, leaving little to explore, little to ponder, and little to respect. When you reveal selectively, hint sparingly, and guard the inner chambers of your psyche, others become invested. They think, wonder, and try to understand you. That engagement, conscious or unconscious, is leverage. It compels attention, respect, and curiosity. This is not about secrecy for its own sake. It is strategic discernment. Your thoughts, your past, your vulnerabilities, your ambitions, they are treasures, not casual information to be casually shared. Like rare artifacts, they are meant to be displayed selectively with those who prove capable of appreciating and protecting them. Consider the most magnetic, memorable individuals you have encountered. Even after years, there remain layers, nuances, and mysteries that are gradually revealed. Their intrigue is intentional. They cultivate depth by controlling disclosure, by shaping the perception others form of them. Contrast this with those who reveal everything at once. Their life becomes transparent, predictable, and quickly forgotten. They are ordinary, unremarkable, and easily dismissed. The practice is simple but requires discipline. When someone asks about your personal life, give only what is necessary to maintain civility. When asked about plans, remain deliberately vague. When curiosity escalates, redirect the conversation back to the other person. They will do most of the talking, as humans naturally enjoy discussing themselves. Your selective disclosure positions you as a figure of intrigue, someone whose presence lingers in the mind long after the interaction ends. Mystery is not only a tool of influence, it is protection. The less people know about you, the less they can manipulate, criticize, or exploit. Your insecurities, fears, past mistakes, and private struggles become impervious to external assault. Oversharing is equivalent to leaving your fortress gates open. The world can enter, observe, and exploit. By guarding mystery, you maintain sovereignty over your inner life and preserve the integrity of your psychological space. Every detail you disclose carries potential consequences. It becomes ammunition in the hands of others, fodder for gossip, leverage for manipulation, or a map to weaknesses. Only share with those who have demonstrated trustworthiness, who understand that your vulnerability is not a public resource but sacred, protected property. Individuals who fail to understand this principle often experience shattered reputations, fractured relationships, and emotional exploitation. Your life, your inner world, is not a public domain. It is a cultivated, sacred space, guarded with deliberate attention. Practice this rigorously. Evaluate each revelation before you make it. Speak with intention, hint sparingly, and allow the unspoken to carry as much weight as your words. In this way, you command attention effortlessly. Your presence becomes magnetic, unforgettable, and psychologically compelling. Presence is often mistaken for power. We believe that to be valuable, we must always be available, always responding, always present, always contributing. And yet, paradoxically, this ceaseless availability is exactly what erodes our value. When we are omnipresent, our existence becomes expected, ordinary, taken for granted. We are background noise, furniture in the lives of others rather than the conscious, rare presence we truly are. Absence, carefully cultivated, is one of the most potent teachers in human psychology. It is the mechanism through which respect, appreciation, and recognition manifest. When you remove yourself from someone's daily orbit, even temporarily, you illuminate your own worth. Humans naturally notice scarcity. What is always present becomes invisible. What is rare becomes precious. Consider the dynamics of relationships, friendships, and professional interactions. The friend who habitually takes your attention for granted. The partner who no longer acknowledges your efforts. The colleague who only values you when it serves their purpose. These are the situations where absence is most instructive. This is not about immaturity, avoidance, or manipulation. It is about strategic withdrawal, a conscious assertion of the value of your time, energy, and presence. Initially, absence may go unnoticed. People accustomed to your availability may not immediately register the shift, but over time, the vacuum created by your withdrawal becomes palpable. In the silent gaps you leave, thought arises, reflection occurs, awareness blooms. Humans instinctively fill voids with thought, conjecture, and recognition of what has been lost or ignored. This principle works universally. A partner who has taken your presence for granted suddenly notices the subtle shift in attention. A friend who relied on your constant outreach experiences the emptiness of your unavailability. A workplace relationship recalibrates when colleagues no longer have immediate access to your input. In each case, absence generates clarity both for them and for you. Absence is information. It conveys boundaries, self-respect, and the value of presence without a word being spoken. Those who recognize and respect your withdrawal respond appropriately. They inquire, apologize, adjust behavior, and demonstrate alignment with your values. Those who do not, they fade. Their disappearance is not a loss. It is a revelation, an acknowledgement of the natural limits of your engagement. Implementing this principle requires discipline. Begin with small steps. Identify one relationship in which your presence has been undervalued. Do not announce your withdrawal. Do not dramatize. Simply become less available. Observe, notice whether they recognize your absence, whether they reach out with sincerity, whether they recalibrate their behavior. This feedback is invaluable. It reveals who truly values your presence. Absence teaches without aggression. It demonstrates that your presence is finite, that your time is non-renewable, and that your energy is not to be squandered. People learn to respect what they cannot take for granted. Scarcity creates desire, attention, and focus. The invisible force of absence compels reflection, adjustment, and recognition in ways constant presence never could. Lesson 7. Say less. Imply more. Words are one of the most overused tools in human interaction. People overwhelm conversations with verbosity, offering explanations when subtle suggestion would suffice, spelling everything out when hinting could ignite thought. The effect of excessive language is loss of power. Every unnecessary word dilutes influence. Every over-explained idea strips away the intrigue, the psychological engagement, and the tension that make communication compelling. Mastery of communication is not measured by the quantity of words, but by the impact of measured, deliberate expression. To say less and imply more is to engage the mind of the listener, to compel reflection, to provoke interpretation. It is to create space in which thought operates independently, generating curiosity, investment, and engagement. When you over-explain, you remove the space for others to project, infer, and imagine. You leave no gaps for thought, no room for subtle psychological dynamics, no opportunity for intrigue. Mystery disappears, and with it, influence diminishes. The strategic communicator understands that silence, implication, and suggestion carry weight far beyond the explicit content of speech. Consider the difference between someone who narrates every detail and someone who speaks sparingly, leaving nuance and context implied. The former is consumed with the act of explanation. The latter engages others in a mental dance, inviting them to interpret, infer, and invest attention. The psychological effect is profound. Listeners linger, think, and remember. They attempt to decode meaning, often overthinking in ways that enhance your perceived depth and significance. To practice this, begin with conscious restraint. Observe conversations in which you are inclined to over-explain or justify. Pause. Ask yourself, does every word serve a purpose? Could a subtle hint convey the same message with more impact? Begin reducing your verbal output deliberately, allowing implication and subtlety to fill the spaces left by omitted explanations. Language becomes a tool not just for communication, but for psychological influence. A single, well-chosen phrase carries more weight than a paragraph of exposition. A glance, a pause, a carefully measured tone communicates far more than incessant speech. When you embrace this principle, you command attention not through volume but through strategic silence and suggestion. In the context of relationships, negotiations, or any social interaction, this approach transforms dynamics. You become less predictable, more intriguing, and infinitely harder to manipulate. Others begin to read between the lines, invest in interpretation, and engage with your presence on deeper levels. By saying less and implying more, you harness the latent power of thought, curiosity, and projection in others, turning attention into influence. When you speak without restraint, you become simple, clear, and ultimately forgettable. Your words lose weight, your presence loses gravity, and your essence diffuses into the ordinary flow of life. The power of communication is not in quantity. It is in impact, subtlety, and implication. To imply rather than explain is to plant seeds of thought in the minds of others, allowing them to grow in their imagination far beyond what you could articulate. Consider the most memorable moments in literature, film, or speeches. They are rarely long-winded explanations. They are short, deliberate, and loaded with meaning. They resonate differently for each person, inviting interpretation, reflection, and contemplation. This is the magic of implication. The space between words becomes a canvas where the listener projects their own fears, hopes, and curiosity. In daily life, this principle transforms ordinary interactions into moments of subtle influence. Imagine someone asks if you are upset. Instead of detailing every nuance of your emotions, you respond simply, "I'm processing," to words. Nothing more. Yet in those words lies an entire universe of possibilities. They will spend minutes or even hours trying to interpret what you mean. How upset are you? Are you angry, hurt, disappointed? Should they worry? All of this unfolds in their mind without a single additional word from you. Or consider someone pressing for your plans. Instead of giving a full breakdown, you say, "Things are in motion." Immediate curiosity arises. What things? What motion? How significant? You have created intrigue without revealing a single tangible detail. You become interesting, enigmatic, and compelling, all while maintaining complete control over the information. When someone attempts to provoke or push your buttons, response with neutrality and subtle implication, interesting perspective, walk away. That simple acknowledgement, devoid of engagement, triggers thought, speculation, and uncertainty in the other person. They may question whether you agree, whether you are sarcastic, whether you are about to take action they should anticipate. All this from to simple words. This works because the human mind abhors gaps in knowledge. When something is left unsaid, the imagination rushes to fill the void. And what the mind imagines is almost always more vivid, dramatic, and complex than what could have been communicated in explanation. To speak less is to harness the mind of your interlocutors, to plant seeds of thought and curiosity, to compel mental investment. This is not a call to vagueness in every interaction. Clarity is essential in matters of logistics, agreements, or situations where understanding is critical. But when the goal is influence, respect, or strategic advantage, brevity and implication become weapons. Observe the way powerful people communicate. They do not ramble. They do not over-explain. They make statements, allow them to hang in the air, and use silence as a subtle amplifier of meaning. They ask questions and do not rush to fill the space. They hint at knowledge without revealing it fully. Contrast this with those lacking presence or influence. They explain endlessly, justify continuously, and attempt ceaselessly to convince others of their insight or importance. The desperation is palpable. It erodes respect and authority. Words should be like icebergs. What is seen is only a fraction, while the bulk of the meaning remains beneath the surface, unseen but deeply felt. The curiosity this evokes ensures you live in the minds of others without being physically present. Begin by having your speech. If you would naturally say 3 sentences, reduce it to 1. If you would over-explain, communicate only half and let the rest emerge in their own reflection. This strategy forces every word to carry weight, every statement to be deliberate. The effect is profound. People lean in, listen carefully, and assign significance to your presence. You are no longer background noise. You are an event, a moment to be considered, interpreted, and respected. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Words are weapons. Lesson 8. Be feared by being unreadable. Epidicolic is the death of power. The moment people can read you, they can manipulate you. They know your triggers, your patterns, your responses. Control becomes impossible to resist when they can anticipate your every move. True power, then, emerges from being unreadable, from being a mystery even in your own behavior. The most dangerous individuals in any environment are those whose next move cannot be predicted, whose emotional states are not transparent, whose intentions remain opaque. When people cannot decipher you, they experience a form of fear that is far more potent than any direct threat. Fear born from uncertainty is visceral, unrelenting, and infinitely more influential than anger or aggression. This is not about being threatening or hostile. It is about cultivating a presence that is strategically inscrutable. Your emotions are controlled, your reactions are measured, and your intentions are deliberately concealed. The human mind is uncomfortable with uncertainty. By staying unreadable, you occupy a space of psychological dominance without ever needing to raise your voice or assert brute force. One conversation, you reveal a sliver of yourself. The next, you reveal nothing. One moment, you are engaged and present. The next, you are detached, silent, impenetrable. This is not deception, it is the deliberate cultivation of unreadability. The recognition that consistency in reaction is weakness. When people can predict your every move, they can exploit it. They take advantage of kindness. They anticipate confrontation. They manipulate patterns. When your behavior becomes unpredictable, however, they hesitate. They think twice before testing boundaries. I have observed this principle at work countless times. People who cultivate unreadability are rarely manipulated, seldom betrayed, and almost never disrespected. Their emotions are a black box. Happiness, anger, hurt, strategy, all are invisible. Their intentions are obscured. They may be planning something, or perhaps they are not. But one thing is certain, others cannot rely on assumptions to navigate interactions with them. Every action is measured, every reaction is deliberate, and every exposure of vulnerability is controlled. The true power of being unreadable lies in the underestimation it generates. Others assume you are weak when you are strong. They assume you are indifferent when you care deeply. They assume ignorance when you have already observed, analyzed, and strategized. And when the veil lifts and they realize their assumptions were wrong, it is too late. You have already adapted, already acted, already won the psychological battle. To practice this, start small. Vary your responses. Shift your energy intentionally. Be warm and attentive one day and distant the next. Share a personal insight, then retreat into silence for a time. Speak when necessary, but leave meaning suspended in the air. Become a puzzle that cannot be solved, a presence that cannot be predicted, a force that requires respect simply to engage with. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I'm unreadable. You have now learned 8 lessons that most people will never truly grasp. Kill your reflex to explain. Use delay as a weapon. Hide your pain as strength. Weaponize your warmth. Guard mystery-like territory. Act through absence. Say less. Imply more. Unreadable, untouchable. Society trains you to be predictable. It wants you explainable, emotionally transparent, available to everyone, reactive, agreeable, and easily understood. Why? Because that version of you is controllable, manipulable, and predictable. The world benefits when you are simple to manage. But you now know a deeper truth. Power does not come from being liked. Power comes from being respected. Respect comes from being strategically dangerous, not in cruelty, but in invulnerability, unpredictability, and self-mastery. Knowing these lessons is only the beginning. The real transformation comes through practice. You must consciously catch yourself before you over-explain. You must intentionally respond slower, even when impatience tugs at you. You must train your face and body to stay neutral when pain strikes. You must pull back your warmth when it is being taken for granted. You must guard your thoughts, your plans, your presence. You must cut your words, create distance, and embrace unpredictability. This is real work, the work of shaping your psychological landscape and protecting your energy, time, and power. The payoff is profound. You no longer become someone others use or manipulate. You become someone respected, observed, and cautiously approached. Your presence demands consideration, your absence teaches lessons, and your unreadability secures your autonomy. Before you go, I want you to commit this to yourself. Drop your favorite affirmation in the comments. If this changed how you view power, hit that like button and subscribe. There is much more wisdom waiting to deepen your understanding. Now go. Practice these lessons. Step into the world with strategy, mystery, and purpose. Become untouchable, unreadable, and undeniably powerful.